Welcome back to Adventures in Randomia, my D&D solo adventure series. This is episode 10, in which Freyia and Clarissa, joined by Connor, finally leave the snowy wilds and return to Ycehollow, bringing with them a mysterious black stone, as instructed by the wizard's ghost. I hope you enjoy, and please do leave me a comment. It's great to read your reactions, questions, and suggestions. Last time, after extricating themselves from a spider's nest, Freyia, Clarissa and Connor discovered a mysterious black stone in a secret workshop belonging to the old wizard teacher. The wizard's ghost then appeared to them and instructed them to take the stone to his tower on the shores of Lake Illuminata, with the promise of treasure as a reward. Freyia and Connor are keen to follow his instructions and gain this reward. However, after the sacrifice of Maeldros, Clarissa is becoming increasingly suspicious of the wizard's intentions. We rejoin our adventurers as they take an overnight rest in a hillside cave, with Freyia and Connor dreaming of the riches they may find at the wizard's tower, and Clarissa scouring the wizard's journal for information about this curious stone, and why the wizard would want to reward them for bringing it to the tower. As Freyia and Connor slumber, Clarissa spends the hours of her watch poring over the wizard's journal. So we roll an investigation check to see what she can glean from the book, and we roll a 12. She pores through the pages of the wizard's dense scrawl, trying to find a reference to the stone. However, it appears this is not a journal of detailed research notes, but rather covers highlights of events from the wizard's life over the time span of more than 2 centuries. So we ask the question, does the journal reveal the properties of the stone? We roll an 8, so this is a no, but. So let's roll some keywords to find out what the journal does reveal. We get the words smell, monopoly, release, and fetid. As she scours the journal, Clarissa comes across a number of pages referencing the stone. She reads, "After much effort of excavating rubble from the impact site in the west wing of the castle, I have finally unearthed the remains of the meteorite. It seems that most of it was burnt away in the impact, but a large stone-sized fragment remains. I have set up a makeshift workshop in the old hidden storeroom and will start conducting research to discover its properties. I'm excited about what this could reveal." "Ah," Clarissa says to herself, "this entry confirms that this is the meteorite stone, as we guessed." She continues examining the entries for information about the research on the stone. She stops at this page. "Many long years of study of the meteorite stone are finally proving fruitful. Work has been slow, as my responsibilities at the Lumin School have kept me very busy. My initial appraisal has been proven correct. My experiments show that the stone indeed does possess some quite fascinating and unique magical properties. I know of no other item of a similar nature. This is exciting indeed. Oh, what a shame he doesn't report the details here." As she flips through the other pages referencing the research, it seems like the entries are deliberately vague. Finally, she stops at this page. "My experiments on the stone are now largely concluded. I should probably move it to my tower for safekeeping. Although another consideration is the benefit of the privacy afforded by it remaining here in the castle. I certainly don't want anyone from Lumins getting wind of the existence of this stone. On a different note, I really must give this workshop a good airing. There is still an awful fetid smell hanging around here, probably released by the experiments." Clarissa puts the journal down and rubs her eyes. She really should get some sleep. Surely it must be time for the next watch. Before she goes to wake Freyia, let's do a check to see if the party get disturbed in the night. We roll an 18, so yes they do. We roll again to discover on whose watch, and we find out the disturbance happens during Freyya's watch. Clarissa packs the journal away into her backpack and wakes Freyia. Freyia takes the watch for the next 3 hours. She passes the time by making some toasted marshmallows for breakfast. Well, that is balls of clumpy old porridge roasted on a stick and then dipped in honey. So let's consult the tables to find out what kind of disturbance happens during Freyya's watch. We roll a 60, so this is a disturbing dream or vision. I'm going to roll on keywords to find out what is the content of this dream or vision. And we get the words mother, step, door, and cloud. This must be a dream that Clarissa is having. Clarissa suddenly cries out in her sleep, "Mother, wait! Don't leave me!" Freyia runs over to her. "What is it, Clarissa? I'm here!" Clarissa is now sitting up in her bedroll, clearly disturbed. Connor grunts and rolls over and starts snoring again. "I had a dream. I saw my mother sitting with me on the doorstep of the temple where I grew up. and there was a priest dressed in gold walking up behind us. And then a dark figure came along, and my mother disappeared into a cloud. Disappeared into a cloud, says Freyia. Yes, it was like, you remember that ice method? We were suddenly all in a cloud, and then it was gone. It was exactly like that. So was she escaping from someone? Asks Freyia. I don't know. Do you think it means she's alive? Is it a sign? Or maybe it's just a dream saying that I want to find her, but I can't. Suddenly, Clarissa's words come out in a rush. I'm just so confused about it. Why would my mother leave me? It was always assumed that I was an orphan, left on the doorstep of the temple. I was quite happy growing up at the temple until I started my cleric training. I really wanted to do well and get it right, but that spiritual weapon spell always comes out as a cat's paw. I tried so hard to make it the correct form. Oh yes, says Freyia. I've seen your shiny golden cat's paw. That's an amazing weapon. The priest at the temple said my form was blasphemous, that I was using an unholy symbol. In the end, I had to leave. You mean they threw you out? The bastards! Well, by then, I knew I couldn't stay. I realised that I just wasn't one of them. I came to Randomia to try to find my people. I heard that they come from here. Well, let's go find them, says Freyia. Let's go find your mother. We can start by asking around where they may be in this land. Okay, thanks, says Clarissa. She seems worn out now from her uncharacteristic outburst. She lays back down in her bedroll and is soon sleeping deeply again. Freyia returns to her marshmallows, or rather porridge balls. She had to discard a few that are now just charred remains on the stick. In the couple of hours before dawn, Freyia wakes Connor to take the final watch. She returns to her bedroll to catch a few more hours of sleep. By the end of the night, they have all completed a long rest and are fully recovered with all their abilities reset. Next morning, Clarissa shares what she has read in the wizard's journal over breakfast. Well, we were right that this is the remains of the meteorite. He was conducting research on it and found out it does have some unique magical properties, but he doesn't say what they are. He seems a bit cagey about the whole thing. He was keeping it at the castle so his colleagues at the Lumen School wouldn't find out about it. Oh yeah, Lumen School, says Connor. I've heard of that. It's a famous wizard school somewhere in the north. Presumably close to Lake Illuminata, says Clarissa. Was that all the journal said? Asks Freyia. Well then, he was complaining about the bad smell around his workshop. Ugh, well maybe that was from those zombies, says Freyia. They're pretty stinky. After breakfast, Connor uses his detect magic spell on the stone. He sits cross-legged on the ground, concentrating silently on the stone inside its crystalline container. So we ask the Oracle, does the crystalline container block the detect spell? We get a 17, so yes it does. Connor cannot detect any magical effect. Either it is blocked by the container, or there is no magic on it. Well, why don't we just open the container then, suggests Freyia. No, I really don't think that's a good idea, says Clarissa. Yeah, I agree, says Connor. Best not mess with it. Okay, well let's get back to Ycehollow then, says Freyia. They head out of the cave and take the track back towards the south. The snow has melted considerably in the warmth of the late spring air. They reach Ycehollow with no further incident. They arrive back at the Salty Dog Inn by late afternoon. Oh, good, you made it back, says the bartender. I was worried about the two of you going out in the wilds on your own. Then he sees Connor. Oh, and your friend made it back too. Oh, no. He stops, realising his mistake. Oh, you're with a new wizard now. Sorcerer, says Connor. They order an early dinner in the tavern and ask the bartender about Lake Illuminata. Oh, yeah, lovely place, so I hear. Never seen it myself, mind. It's on the mainland, about 100 miles from here. Your best bet is take the boat to Everpool in Chilwyn Bay and then go overland from there. The next boat is the day after tomorrow. They all turn in early for the night, thankful to be sleeping in a proper bed again. Next morning at breakfast, they ask the bartender about what shops are in the town. They want to sell some of the items they've looted in the castle, as well as buy a few supplies. So we roll on the merchant's table to discover what shops are here in Ycehollow. Well, says the bartender, you'll want to go to Mario's Emporium for all your adventuring supplies. You can't miss it, it's on the front. Is there an alchemy or potion shop of some sort? Asks Connor. Oh yes, there's a Twisted Root. Funny little place in the back streets. Turn right at the dockmaster's office and then it's first left. What about a gem trader or somewhere I can sell art treasures? Asks Freyia. Oh, no, you'll need to go to a city for that kind of thing, replies the bartender. Is there a map shop? Asks Clarissa. I want to buy a map of Randomia. Oh, no, you're out of luck. The bookshop burnt down last year and hasn't been reopened. Mario might have a few maps, though. The three of them head off down the main street of Ycehollow, which is a long road that curves right round the bay. Before long, they come to the dockmaster's office and take a right turn, and then take a further left into a narrow alley. They spot a shop with a sign depicting a very gnarly mandrake root. This must be the twisted root. They step into the small, cramped shop and are greeted by the pungent aroma of various herbs and ingredients mingling in the air. The interior is dimly lit, with shelves lining the walls from floor to ceiling, displaying a vast array of glass vials, potion bottles, and jars filled with colourful liquids and powders. The shelves are meticulously organised, each item labelled with handwritten tags. Initially, the shop appears to be empty, and then suddenly a small elderly woman with bushy white hair, thick glasses, and a long nose pops up from behind the counter.
Ah, customers! Hello, I'm Evadne Witherfinger.
She waggles her long bony fingers at them as she says this.
What can I do for you today?
She asks. Would you be interested in buying some ingredients? Asks Connor.
Oh, yes. What have you got for me, young man?
She says as she peers closely at Connor through the thick lenses of her glasses. I've got some venom sacs from a giant spider, he says as he pulls out the jar, uncorks the lid and shows it to her.
Oh, let me see, she says excitedly. May I?
And she reaches into the jar with her long bony fingers and pulls out one of the venom sacs.
Oh, lovely.
She puts it under her nose and gives a big sniff.
Yes, ripe, juicy, fresh. I'll give you 10 gold for the pair.
Great, it's a deal, says Connor, and he hands over the 2 venom sacs in exchange for the gold. Then Clarissa speaks.
Would you buy spectre dust?
Evadne turns and looks at Clarissa. It seems she had hardly noticed the others with her focus on Connor. She peers at her.
You're a long way from home, ducky.
Yes, says Clarissa. Do you know where my people live?
Oh, yes, far to the south, I understand, from the jungle and desert regions. I met a trader from there once. He had all sorts of exotic ingredients to sell me.
Clarissa thanks Evadne and exchanges the spectre dust for 4 gold. Then Evadne turns to Freyia.
And what about you, dear? Can I do anything for you?
Oh, yes, I'd like to buy some healing potions, please. So let's check if this shop has any healing potion in stock. We roll a 14, so yes it does. How much per potion? Asks Freyia.
That'll be 50 gold each,
says Evadne. 50 gold? You're kidding! Actually, that's quite a good price, says Connor. Okay then, I'll take 2. She carefully counts out the coins and hands them over. Oh, and I just remembered, is there any chance you can tell us what these 2 potions do? Freyia pulls out the 2 potion bottles that they found in the wizard's chest at the castle.
Well, let's see,
says Evadne. She uncorks each bottle and gives it a good sniff.
Well, they're not poisons. Let's test them out to see what properties they have.
She disappears under the counter for a moment and brings up a large glass tank containing a very hairy tarantula.
Wake up, Billy, she says. I've got a job for you.
The spider stirs and waves its 2 front legs at her. She takes the first potion bottle and puts a tiny drop of the dark red liquid onto her finger.
Here we are, Billy. Try this one.
As she puts her finger into the glass tank, the tarantula scuttles over to her hand and sucks the red liquid from her finger. Immediately, the spider shrinks to about a quarter of its usual size.
Ah, yes, as I thought. Potion of diminution. Very nice.
Then she tries the other potion. This one is a dark, syrupy liquid of a blackish-brown colour.
Come on, Billy.
The spider, still of a reduced size, comes over and takes the second potion. It immediately gains a lustrous metallic sheen all over its body.
Oh, yes, potion of invulnerability. That's a very rare one. That'll be 10 gold each for the identification.
10 gold each, says Freyia.
Well, they are both very valuable potions. I'll tell you what, I'll buy the potion of diminution from you for 200 gold, and I'll throw in the identification for free.
Oh, okay then. Yes, that's a deal, says Freyia. Their business concluded, they head out of the shop with Evadne calling after them.
Do come back if you find any more ingredients.
They head back to the main street and soon come across Mario's Emporium. This is a large open-fronted shop with every kind of adventuring equipment imaginable. They step inside and are immediately greeted by a short, rather stout middle-aged man with greying dark hair and a black twirled moustache. Ah, welcome to Mario's Emporium. I am Mario, purveyor of every kind of item an adventurer may need. Then he spots Freyia following Connor and Clarissa into the shop. "Ah, che bella, la bella donna. Yes, you are very welcome." "What's that he's saying?" says Freyia to Clarissa. "Oh, I think he says you're a beautiful lady." "Oh, right. Thanks, I suppose." Fighting with spiders and zombies is one thing. Dealing with overly friendly shopkeepers is quite another. "So, what can I do for you lovely people?" "Well, I'd like a component pouch," says Connor. "Ah, yes, a component pouch for the young sorcerer." "Hey, someone who knows I'm not a wizard." "Of course you're not a wizard. Look at those flashing green eyes. You surely have magic in your blood. And you have no books. Every wizard I have met has books falling out of every pocket." "Yeah, I'm not much of a reader." "So, component pouch, you say?" Mario pulls forward a large basket filled with packs and pouches of all shapes and sizes. He picks up a bright green leather pouch. "Now, here's the perfect pouch for the dashing young sorcerer. Beautifully made leather and exquisite stitching of a unique design." "How much?" asks Connor. "Only 30 gold. Got anything cheaper?" "Well, let's see now," says Mario. He rummages around in the basket and pulls out a rather battered brown leather pouch. "So here we have, well, a pouch. See, it has pockets. And the distressed leather look is rather charming. Only one previous owner. Let's say 18 gold. "Okay, I'll take it," says Connor, and he hands over the gold. He then proceeds to pull out the contents of various pockets in his robe, where he has all sorts of spell components mixed up with other dubious-looking items. He places them all in the pockets of the pouch. Mario then turns to Freyia. "So, beautiful lady, what can I do for you?" Would I like some cook's utensils, please?" "Of course, the beautiful lady is also a wonderful cook, I'm sure." "Yes, she is rather a good cook," says Clarissa. Freyia elbows Clarissa. "Don't encourage him," she whispers. She hands over the 1 gold for the cook's utensils. Mario turns to Clarissa. "And what about the fine tabaxi? What can I do for you?" "Well, I'd like a map of Randomia," says Clarissa. "Ah, maps. Well, not our speciality, but see here, this is a map of the region. It shows the outline and even a few towns and cities. And look, if you take these cartographer's tools as well, there's plenty of space for you to mark things in on the map yourself." "Oh yes, that's perfect," says Clarissa. "That's exactly what I'm looking for." "It is? Well, great. So 15 gold for the lot." They complete their purchases, bid farewell to Mario, and head out of the shop. On the way back to the Salty Dog Tavern, they check in at the dockmaster's office to inquire about the boat to Everpool. They talk to the swarthy-looking dockmaster, who is covered in tattoos and looks to be an ex-sailor. He notes down their names as passengers for the sailing the next day and tells them to meet with Captain Baldric of the Frosty Maiden before 10 in the morning. With all their tasks in the town now completed, they return to the Salty Dog Tavern for the rest of the day. And there we will leave our adventurers, making their final preparations for their boat journey west to the port of Everpool. Tune in again next time to follow them in their quest to reach the Wizard's Tower and to discover more about the mysterious meteorite stone.